Hey, this is Wayne Cook, and you're listening to What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, UCLA, fight, fight, fight.
UCLA, you're listening to Brett Hundley and Company. What's Bruin?
Down here, it's our time.
We watched the game. Here's a tough contested three. Hanna buries it. Boom.
He passed the ball so much more.
In the face.
We're everyday Joes talking good UCLA talk.
Hey, boys.
How about these guys?
They got playmakers out there.
Jake.
I am rather hairy.
I love you.
Bill.
And where are the white women at?
I don't know fully what's going on.
Mike.
Careful, man. There's a beverage here, huh?
Hello, What's Bruin Show audience. I'm your host, Jake Merrifield, and this is a free preview of some of the bonus content that you'll get by subscribing on Patreon, patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or whatsbruinshow.com, or on the Substack, whatsbruin.substack.com. And you can subscribe on Patreon for $2, and you can subscribe on the Substack for, I think it's like $5 a month or $60 a year or something like that. But we really appreciate your support. We try to put out some bonus content for you throughout the season. During the football season, it's pretty much me doing these mall casts where I'm generally walking around the mall and talking, kind of like that guy that was on public access for years, a couple decades ago, where he was like painting a watercolor and walking on the treadmill and like trying to sell people merchandise, over the phone. That was quite a wacky show, and I kind of feel like that when I'm walking through the mall. But it's just kind of me getting out my thoughts that are hitting me in between shows about UCLA football and things in general. So I'll try to bring you at least one of these a week. During the off season, we might get into some What's Bruin After Darks, where me and Mike and Bill and Jamaal are talking about just kind of random things that hopefully you'll find entertaining. But we appreciate all of your support, even if you just subscribe on the Substack for free or subscribe on the Apple Podcast. You are listening and downloading the shows. We'd appreciate it if you would give us a nice review and just let people know what we're doing on the What's Bruin Show. But without further ado, here is the Mallcast for this post-Utah week. Hello and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and this is the Mallcast for this week. I'm going to read the article that I put up on the Substack this week entitled, Chip Kelly and UCLA football need to get unstuck from 500. I apologize as of right now, I'm not walking through the mall. I just recorded the normal main show for the What's Bruin Show, and it's late in the evening on Tuesday, but I feel like this is a good alternate way for you guys to get the What's Bruin content if you're a wonderful paid subscriber. Instead of having to go to the site and read it for yourself, maybe it's more convenient for me to read it to you. So here it is, then I'll have some more thoughts about this week afterwards. But from the Substack, whatsbruin.substack.com, Chip Kelly and UCLA football need to get unstuck from 500. A What's Bruin opinion by Jake Merrifield. After UCLA's difficult and frustrating loss this past Saturday in Salt Lake City, Bruin fans are once again incredibly polarized over the viability of Chip Kelly as the UCLA head coach. Every individual win and loss has turned into a referendum on the Chip Kelly era as a whole. That's the byline at the top, plus a little summary. Since submarining the program in his first 2 years en route to a record of 7-17 and arguably stabilizing the program during a 3-4 COVID year, UCLA head coach Chip Kelly has operated the Bruins at an undeniably respectable, if not impressive, level, compiling a record of 20-9 since the start of his fourth campaign as UCLA's head coach. However, even the respectable years have ended in squandered opportunities or bizarre circumstances. In 2020, the Bruins looked pretty good after a 3-2 start and then lost 2 heartbreaking games in a row to USC and Stanford. UCLA was buzzworthy in 2021 after a non-conference win over LSU. Go G-A-U-X. How do you say go? I don't know. Anyways, they were buzzworthy in 2021 after a non-conference win over LSU, but then lost every game to a team with a winning record over the rest of the season, and then forfeited the Holiday Bowl to NC State in bizarre fashion. Thanks a lot, COVID. Last year's team was undoubtedly Kelly's best team as a Bruin head coach, and featured his first impressive wins over notable competition. UCLA had consecutive wins over ranked Washington and Utah. God, I love that Utah game, which arguably has been the high watermark for Kelly's Bruins up to this point. After an understandable loss in Eugene, UCLA won its next 2 games on the way to an impressive 8-1 record and a number 9 ranking in the AP poll. Coincidentally, that 8th win of the season also marked the first time Kelly was 500 as UCLA's coach, with a record of 26-26. Sadly, the Bruins' best start in years ended in disaster as the Bruins finished 1-3 with embarrassing upsets to Arizona and Pitt's JV squad. See below. The net result for the Bruins under Kelly has been a solid mix of underwhelming promise. Kelly has yet to win 10 games as the Bruin head coach, but he has increased his winning percentage each season at UCLA. Kelly has never reached the Pac-12 championship game or finished better than tied for 3rd in the conference race. But UCLA has consistently churned out some of the best offensive numbers in school history. Thanks, Josh Kelly. Thanks, DTR. Thanks, Zach Charbonnet. Zach. Kelly is 2-3 against USC, but those 2 wins were incredibly dominating and memorable, albeit against bad USC teams. But no matter what, you can't take away the joy of 2018 Josh Kelly and 2021 DTR hurdling fools and signing autographs. However, after winning 11 of 12 games to reach 500 as coach at UCLA, Kelly's Bruins have wibbled and wobbled their way to a 4-4 record and are seemingly glued to that unsatisfying but not definitively awful 500 mark. The state of the fan base can only be described as incredibly polarized, and both sides of the argument have evidence and venom to throw at the idiots on the other side, with the balance tilting on every win or loss. Now, at this point in the article, I put a couple tweets up from our good friends Michael Hanna and David Woods of some very negative Bruin attention. It was funny. I was going to put up some positive Bruin stuff. You know, I was actually going to look for like Mike's stuff, you know, or maybe the guy at the Bruin Bible, old Will. But, you know, Twitter's just such a negative place, and it's hard to dig out anything positive about UCLA the week after a loss. But in our mind's eye, we can imagine positive UCLA things, right? Just think about anybody like blowing some sunshine. Think of like Brian Fenley going, "Oh, the Bruins are so awesome," ooh, you know, whatever. But yeah, it's just so polarizing. But getting on to the next section of the article, what could have been. With all this gnashing of teeth, it occurred to me that this last stretch of 4-4 for UCLA football has been exceptionally maddening for fans. I know it has for me. We're all in football purgatory as we alternate hot and cold with every win or loss. The wins were all pretty much blowouts versus outgunned opponents, but I believe converting any one of those losses to a victory would have been disproportionately positive on our feelings about the program. So with nothing but a bye-week loss to marinate on, God damn those Utes, let's take a look at these last 4 setbacks and imagine what could have been. The quest for 10 wins. The most obvious feather in the cap the Bruins could have taken from an extra win during the 2022 season was the opportunity to collect that 10th win. As meager as it might be for fans that demand national title contention and conference titles, a 10-win season for a Bruin coach sadly isn't anything to sneeze at for UCLA fans. There have only been 9 10-win seasons in school history, and only 3 of them in the last 25 years. Sometimes it is hard to be a Bruin.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Giving all your love to just one team.
When you look back at the last 2.5 dark decades of UCLA football, some of the most pleasant memories fans have are the 10-win seasons from 2004, 2013, and 2014. None of those teams finished better than 3rd in the conference, but they all could be pointed to as good seasons for Bruin fans with no reservations, right? You guys remember Maurice Jones-Drew, Drew Olson, Mercedes Lewis? That was a great season, 2004. You know, Brandon Brazell, running back, onside kicks to get that 10th win against, Godfather, Northwestern. 2013 and 14, those were Morris teams that didn't go to Pac-12 title game, but those were awesome freaking years. I'd like to be back there with those teams once again. Brett Hundley. Love that guy. One more win last season surely wouldn't have silenced Kelly's critics, the haters, but it would have been a solid beachhead for Kelly supporters, the apologists. to plant supportive arguments. So if Jake Bobo can catch a pass in the back of the end zone, if DTR can bring home a game-winning drive against USC, or if the Bruins can refrain from collectively throwing up all over themselves against Pitt's reserves, there's a whole lot more positivity to spread around heading into the 2023 season. Unfortunately, instead of collecting that elusive 10th win, we suffered 4 soul-sucking and demoralizing losses. The first one, 2022 loss at home to Arizona. Final score, Bruins 28, Wildcats 34. The Bruins were 8-1. They had tremendous wins over Washington and Utah, and an explainable, if not depressing, loss to the Ducks in Eugene. The Bruins were ranked number 9 in the country, and all that stood in the way of an epic crosstown showdown against number 7 USC was an imminently winnable home game against Arizona. Stupid Wildcats. Had the Bruins upheld their end of the bargain, it would have been one of the most anticipated USC-UCLA matchups in history. A classic showdown between super-duper senior DTR, coming off an unbelievable 2021 performance at the Coliseum, signing autographs and hurdling fools, against the future Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. Maybe if the Bruins won, would have won the Heisman. I don't know. Who knows? However, instead of allowing the hype to come to fruition, the Bruins inexplicably turned in their most listless offensive performance of the season. Only 28 goddamn points. Before that loss, even those pessimistic fans were getting on board with the idea that Kelly had finally got it figured out, even if he took too long to get there. But as soon as DTR's final pass fell through Jake Bobo's hands, the Kelly critics and the knives were out in full force. 2022, the loss at the Coliseum to USC. Final score, Bruins 45, Trojans 48. Of these last 4 losses, 2 were absolutely shameful and 2 were absolutely not shameful. This one falls into the latter category. In a vacuum, this was a classic crosstown showdown. Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley versus DTR, Zach Charbonnet and Chip Kelly. UCLA's bad defense versus USC's bad defense. What was going to give? Both defenses gave up a ton in the second half as the two teams scored on 6 consecutive drives with touchdowns. Finally, trailing by 3 late in the game, the Bruin defense forced a USC punt and put the ball into DTR's experienced hands for a possible game-winning drive. That quickly resulted in an interception and effectively ended the game. Ugh, so sad. So sad. Before the pick, every fan watching would have bet money on the Bruins tying or winning the game. Had the Bruins won, the Pac-12 would have been plunged into an insane multi-team tie in the conference standings that may have resulted in a berth in the Pac-12 championship game for the Bruins. Instead, UCLA had suddenly lost 2 in a row, and the stakes of the season were completely dashed. 2022 Sun Bowl loss to Pitt. Final score, Bruins 35, Panthers 37. Can we just delete this game and pretend the Bruins caught COVID again, like in 2021? DTR's final ride started triumphant and ended in a flashback to the sporadic start of his career. After throwing 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, he left the game with an injury, and Pitt ended up winning with a gutter performance from a team composed of their reserve players. Other than missing their final opportunity to win 10 games, the loss was relatively meaningless, and the Bruins still miraculously finished in the top 25. However, it was yet another embarrassing bowl loss for battered Bruin fans everywhere. Remember the Fight Hunger Bowl? Remember the Silicon Valley Classic? The Foster Farms Bowl? Go look those ones up if you don't remember. I was at each and every one of them. Each one took a little piece of my soul. It's terrible. It almost got a divorce for Bill and Suzanne before they were really even married for very long. There would have been no twins if that would have, if the Silicon Valley Classic, like that almost ended Bill and Suzanne before they really started. That's how bad that game was. Stupid Fresno State. All right, on to the next section. 2023, loss at Rice-Eccles Stadium to Utah, just this last Saturday. Final score, Bruins 7, Utes 14. Ugh.
What is a Ute? Did you say Utes?
This loss isn't like the others. I'm just going to say it right there. This loss shouldn't be shameful, and yet it is. The Bruins marched into SLC last weekend to face a dangerous but wounded Utah Ute team and ended up getting bit. After throwing a pick 6 on the first offensive play and then squandering numerous scoring opportunities, the Bruin offense played the entire game from behind and couldn't get over the hump. RIP. Had any one of a number of plays gone the Bruins' way, the outcome could have been entirely different, And maybe UCLA had been the team sitting on the ball and holding the opponent at arm's length. But it didn't, and UCLA was once again cast out of the top 25, at least for now. If the Bruins come home with a win in Utah, they get to celebrate over the bye week and entertain a top 15 showdown with Washington State in week 6. Instead, Kelly's back to 500, and he sucks.
I think Chip Kelly is probably the worst coach in the Pac-12 right now.
The offensive line is a burning wreck. Look at Porfina, Kadir Kunta, Holstage, getting spun around like turnstiles. It's shameful. Dante Moore, he's obviously going to transfer now. Why would he stay? Oh, my God. Offensive line can't even protect him. It's so depressing. And, of course, the Bruins will get thrashed next year in the Big Ten because they can't possibly compete with all those super defensive teams, obviously. Chip Kelly is obviously the worst coach in UCLA history.
Chip Kelly can kind of be a dick.
That's quite a swing in sentiment over just 7 little points, over 1 loss. Go look at the tweets out of UCLA fans last week and compare them to Saturday afternoon. It's amazing. And I don't blame you. It's how we feel. But it's still quite a swing. And the conclusion. Kelly needs to get unstuck or definitively suck. In a vacuum, there's no shame in dropping a tough game to a good team in a great conference. RIP Pac-12. But there's too much emotional baggage in Westwood right now. As it stands, we're all just waiting for something definitive. Despite the easy schedule, a 10-win season in the Pac-12 this year with a freshman single collar will be a nice accomplishment and a clear sign that the arrow is pointed upwards. As the Bruins head into their second third of the season, the Bruins need a good showing because as it stands, every win or loss is alternately seen as evidence of how close they are or how mediocre they have become, depending on which prism you're viewing it through. But the explainable losses become less and less explainable each and every time they occur, and every game Kelly's record sticks around the 500 mark, it becomes a louder and louder indictment of the program as a whole. Thank you. Thanks for indulging me on that. Let me know if you enjoy that as a method to, or as something you'd like to hear on the Mallcast more. I'm not sure how many articles I'm going to write. It just kind of gets to me when the mood strikes, but I don't mind reading them on the show, so that's kind of fun for me too. So if you like it, then I like it, and I'll do it some more. Thinking about other stuff that's hitting me during this bye week, it does suck to go into a bye week on a loss. Just for your information, the Bruins are 3-4 heading into bye weeks under Chip Kelly. So, just like everything else with Chip Kelly, he's about 500 with everything. He's about 500 versus SC. He's about 500 at going into bye weeks. He's exactly 500 in his career at UCLA right now. Not abjectly, horribly terrible anymore like it was the first couple seasons, but also, not really any good. I don't know. What are we doing here? I wrote the article for a reason. But it's not just Kelly that is mediocre during going into bye weeks. Just UCLA has been mediocre going into bye weeks. Since WBS started, the Bruins are something like 6-6 in going into bye week games. Because you remember a couple years they had more than one bye week. So that's why it's more than the 10 years that we've been on the air. But this sucks going to a bye week on a loss because, a whole week of college football has to go through and you're still sitting on that stupid, ugly L. Especially a game like this where it's like, you probably should have won, but you didn't win. And now you're just like, yuck. So just to give you, tell you what I do during bye weeks, which the Bruins are not riding high, because if they win, then you get to enjoy it, right? But if they lose, I really just kind of turn my back on college football to a degree. I can't do it completely because we still have to do the show and still have to kind of pay attention a little bit to what's going on. But, normally I listen to like a cajillion, podcasts regarding college football, the national shows, the local shows. I listen to everything. Someone's got to tell Will from the Bruin Bible that he posted a show from 2 years ago on his feed. Someone's got to tell him that, because if I don't tell him, no one's going to tell him. He's going to look like an asshole. So I'm here to help other Bruin podcasters. I listen to all the national crap, and it's just like, ugh. I'm sure like you do too. But when you got 2 weeks of no football, no Bruin football, why do that to yourself, right? Does it really matter why, people think that Oregon kicked the shit out of Colorado, or why Colorado's going to lose to SC by 100 points? No, it doesn't in our context. I mean, it'll be there when we get back. So take a little break from UCLA football. Take a little break from the toxicity. Take a little break from all the negative Nellies and the arguing and the polarization, like I just detailed in my article. And go back to the things you listen to that don't have anything to do with UCLA for a little bit. Of course, listen to What's Bruin Show, but don't listen to a bunch of other crap, because guess what? They're all going to be saying the same thing at this point, right? Oh my God, look at how mediocre Chip Kelly is, or something to that effect. So, if you, like me, are a big fan of Ask a Jew, the podcast of a secular, sinful Israeli talking to a super Orthodox Jewish lady from Long Beach, hey, by all means, enjoy. If you're a content hog like me and you have to be listening to something at all times, listen to an audiobook. Go get a good, Olivia Rodrigo just came out with a cool poppy new album. Listen to that. But find something to occupy yourself other than the Bruins letting us down in this latest tilt against the Utes. So shameful, so sad. We're all torn up about it, but, it is what it is. But anyway, unless the mood strikes me again sometime this week, this is your Mallcast for the week, and I appreciate your guys' support. I hope you all have a good rest of your week and a weekend of non-UCLA college football. At least there's no pressure on watching, right? But you have any thoughts on the structure of this or of anything else of the show? You guys are loyal subscribers, and please just let me know what we can do for you, and thank you for your support, and until next time, go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, brah, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.